goodness, what a glorious Sunday. Welcome to April. This is April 3rd, I believe, of 2023. I did just get the Akashic message for today, but also the Akashic collective message that always goes out to my Patreons first. I do have to say, I do plug Patreon a lot. It's only $5 or $8. Right now is when you really want to join. We are going to be embarking on a project to develop our psychic ability of telepathic thought, being able to communicate telepathically for all walks of life to start to learn, practice, and build that ability, because all of us humans are capable of doing it, you beautiful stars. On top of, they're receiving a lot of videos and classes right now, a lot about manifesting, a lot of stuff going on. The Akashic readings, monthly readings, go out to them first. It's only $5 or $8. I am Stars of the Morning Light. I am the only Stars of the Morning Light really out there in the world. So you might want to consider doing that. I teach there twice a month. Hey, Miss Lori, good to see you in the chat. I teach there twice a month usually. Even in April when I'm kind of real busy, I'll still be teaching there. They're getting all these smaller videos that will be sent to them today, even more so, of moon manifesting and the 25-page PDF that goes along with it. They're getting a lot of stuff. Why? To get them rocking and rolling for the summertime. I love it. So consider joining there. It's a nice community. It really is. We are a beautiful community that cares about each other, about what goes on with each other and what happens. So that's, a card already jumped out. Why am I still picking more cards? So as you might not know, if you're new to Stars of the Morning Light, whenever I go live, I kind of talk for a little bit, just catching people up, seeing how everybody's doing, as those who are going to come into the chat can show up. Sundays are, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. We start rolling to see who's going to show up. I understand that in the spring, the summer, it's always going to be a mix. I will be here as much as I can. Once again, in April, because I'm extremely busy, I will be here. If I'm a couple of minutes late, just hang out because I will be showing up. Also, join us on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. if you can for the Edgar Casey Life Skill Study that's doing very well. And I'm also live on Fridays at 11 a.m. So yeah, the beginning's a little bit of me just waiting to see who's going to pop in and how things are hanging and rolling with people. And then we get to it. Sundays are always a weekly message, but really they're apropos to a whole lot of all the time and space that you may occupy. How has everybody been doing? Sincerely, because there's been some energy shifts. I felt somewhat of another one yesterday. Good. They're good. Thank goodness we are out of February, March, all that jazz at the turn of the year. We kind of came in a bit slower in January, but then pretty much everybody know February was kind of rough. March was kind of rough, and do remember, especially if you go back in the videos, when I was trying to tell people about the turn of the year, what to expect in 2023, all of these messages then are really more so just all of 2023. Crazy and good, Lori said. All right, cool. All of these messages, like I said, they're going to be apropos for whenever you are in 2023. It's an interesting time that we live in. An exciting, fascinating time of expansion, if that's how we choose to look at it. Remember, everything is choice and perspective. So here at Stars of Morning Light, we do see the optimism. We do see how things can go better, be better, all around, individually, collectively. Today's message is actually really nice. And I did get it from the Akashic. I don't even know what I would entitle this. It was a lot about reconnecting to the earth, which it's April. If you're in the northern hemisphere, April's kind of the month that we all we're capable of doing that. The weather starts shifting. And the energies are starting to shift. That there's reasons for this message. I understand it. Oh, it's good to be with you. It is. It definitely is. A card jumped out though, because I do pick a card from the Sacred Geometry deck, like I said, as people are coming in and realizing that I'm here. And the card that jumped out is number 37. Realization. Realization. I wonder if people even know that that is, there's sacred geometry to that. Realization. The frequency, because all is frequency, all is energy. The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in this world. That term heart-centered has become very popular, which is awesome. I love it. And I spoke in another video that there are people out there exposing the fact that our hearts, even biologically, are moving to the center. There were some whistleblower nurses, like nurses for surgeons or emergency room nurses, I want to say back in like 2017 or so, that started, behind, you wouldn't see them visibly. They didn't want their face to be known. But a lot of nurses, because doctors wouldn't do this per se, because very odd that when they would be working on people, there would be this great pause in the room because that person's heart had shifted to the center of their body, physically. And that is happening with a lot of us. So I notice when I teach classes, when I say, put your hand to your heart, I notice if somebody's still putting their hand over here opposed to somebody putting their hand here. And so to develop that more, because heart-centered is not just a word. It's not just a lovely ideal. It literally is mind, body, and soul becoming the center of who you are, right? Our powerhouse is right below it, the third chakra, that's able to move all that energy, really. It filters through a heart center. And so there's more to that saying. I suggest when somebody says that, put your hand to your heart, notice if you're still putting your hand over here or if your hand is landing naturally in the center. And if your hand can move to the center naturally, when somebody says, put your hand to your heart, if it can move naturally there, that means you are starting to actually move towards a more heart center realization. So I'm going to hold the card up again, hold the card up for you. Look at all that beautiful light. That is such beautiful light. Oh my gosh. gosh, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful. The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process, now external, of becoming our highest expression in the world. I'd like to add to that. It starts with the realization, but there does have to, and then it does have to be acceptance there as well then. The self-acceptance, which I do know, talking about 2023 a lot, that's so much of what people are going to be experiencing, the inner and outer process of self-acceptance. It's hard. It is so hard. Especially, I just had this conversation with somebody last night. When people start waking up and start delving more into, hi beloved, I see you, my dear. When people start waking up to more expressions of their spirituality and expressions of different thoughts, different ways of being, it's hard to know where the old you, the present you, and the possible future you come together. Like, how does that come together? And so much of our world takes like spiritual leaders or those that have messages, those who teach, and they they kind of put them up on a pedestal and also put them in certain kind of clothing and this and that and how they look. That makes it difficult. And if that's how they roll, that's how they roll. You know, I get it. But it's what we visibly see. And so when an individual starts the process for themselves, there is genuinely, and I spoke with somebody just last night about this concept of like, well, if I become like this teacher, shaman, if I do this path that I really, my soul's calling me to gain more knowledge, can I still like hang out at barbecues and ride a motorcycle and, you know, all this kind of stuff, right? Like, what is going to become of me? It's the same as anybody that enters into any kind of recovery or has to do a massive transition, so they feel or think on the onset that it's like, what if I'm not who I always was, what's going to happen? It's that uncertainty. It's that the fear of the unknown. And then if you can release the fear of the unknown, then it even becomes a struggle with the identity. Who am I then in this world, in this spiritual concept, spiritual being, living a human experience? And I want to ride more with my realized heart-centered self. What does that look like? Because there's a lot of changes, a lot of development, and then the whole starting to question, what do I let go of? What do I keep? There's just a lot. Lori said, yes, motorcycle, yes. You can still be a very spiritual being and ride motorcycles. Exactly. That kind of thing. It's the, you don't have to necessarily be Buddha on a mountaintop. You don't necessarily have to be this and that. Nothing against Buddha, of course. Wonderful being. It is hard. And that is what a lot of 2023 is going to be about, is we're in the eye of the storms, in our own little bubble, holding our ground, keeping our ground stable as we move around in the storms, because we got to move around them. We got to move with them. It's not like we're not going to be affected, right? And so it's not just realization, in my opinion. Towards the end, definitely late summer into the fall, that self-acceptance is very much going to be fully needed, and life will be pushing you that way. Um, and I do know, like, the young people, I love young people. It's such an interesting stage of life, when you're trying to figure that out for yourself anyways. Who am I? You know, what do I put on this resume? What do I do here? Who am I in society? Who am I as an adult? You know, young people. It's a very interesting time period in development. It might start feeling that way for others as well. Even if they're grown, very well grown, everybody's going to be in like this reevaluating period of 2023. Like I said, and all those things that you thought, these little things that you wanted to start implementing, putting in here and there. Oh, maybe I'll eat healthy for like 4 days a week because that's about what I can handle. And then I might, you know, have a little snack or something, right? Like all these little things that we wanted to implement. What does my family need? What do I need? You know, all this kind of stuff that we'll be implementing that sprung out of the past few years. That we realized, oh, I need that in my life, more of that. And then all of a sudden it went away again because life opened back up, and now we're not getting to the things that we knew were good for us and our family and our well-being. We'll start implementing that back into our daily lives. And with that, more spiritual growth, more realization, leading to full self-acceptance of, by hopefully the end of 2023, moving a bit into 2024, we are putting individually our stake in the ground, saying this is who I am. This is who I am. This is what I will accept and what I won't accept. These are my boundaries because I know who I am and I know my power. So that's just to kind of sum up again of what we've been talking about in 2023. A lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. The message for today, though, as now everybody who's going to be here is here. You blessed stars, you guys are all so beautiful. You really are. Humans are beautiful. I love humans. We all do. We all love humans. So, today's message is actually kind of a mix of, really the overcap is connecting with Earth again, grounding. There's a lot that's going to be happening with her definitely over the next, oh, hello, Anne, I see you, over, well, a long period of time, and it starts now of the reconnecting to her. And I will reference the Earth as her, Mother Earth, Gaia, however you want to pronounce her as, the Earth. She is feminine to me because she is creation. You know, of course, there's the mix of both masculine and feminine, but I generally, and most people, refer to her as, oh, hey, Miss Chloe, thank you for watching on your lunch break. Generally, they reference the Earth as a feminine, and so will I. We have to, so the weekly message really for the Akashic is a lot of getting back to her. The amount of grounding that we are going to need is a lot. It's a lot for us and a lot for her. And so, thank goodness we're now in April. Love April. Thank you. Spring, sun, loveliness, right? It's going to be, I mean, we got to get our feet on the ground, our hands in the dirt, walking with her, talking with her, being with her, remembering that we are as much of her as she is of us. I mean, if we are in these meat suits, connected to her, we are very attached to her. It's not just gravity. There's a reason there is gravity. We are very connected to her. She is like our mother. That's why we call her Mother Earth. They're very, very connected. And coming out of the winter, coming out of all sorts of stuff in the northern hemisphere here, it's a must, and most humans take that opportunity to be like, oh, let's get into nature. But moving forward, it's a must. So to sustain what will be happening with us and to help her as all those storms are happening and her ground starts shaking and her life starts moving. So that's really what we need to talk about. And I'm kind of moving down some of the list because they just kind of gave me a few words like talk this, talk that, talk this. I guess before I go into like so much of her, let's talk about what that means for us. Because as we are realizing more of our heart-centered self, our bodies literally changing because of her change. There is no separation. For us to help ourselves, everybody says get vibes up, get vibes up, which is great. I love it. Yes. We also have to do a lot of grounding. Over the next few months, and so they want me to tell you now, because I experienced some of these ascension symptoms, and yes, I do say ascension, because even if we're everybody's got their own opinions on that, what that is. And there's a lot of opinions that say that you have to die to ascend. I don't believe that. I don't, not here. Because death is, that doesn't even really make sense to me. But without going into that, we kind of ascend to a higher consciousness and a higher plane of living. I talked about it on Friday's episode with all the Hermetics. We can ascend to a higher plane of consciousness, which also then creates a new plane of living. I understand the concept of like people thinking you have to die to ascend. Then that rules out reincarnation. It really does. That rules out, I guess they're looking at the paradigm of heaven or hell or freedom from the 3D, but there can be freedom of 3D currently. So that's where I just disagree with things. I don't think something does not need to die to ascend to a higher consciousness. I just don't believe that. Probably because I don't really live in 3D. So I didn't have to die. Maybe die unto oneself, like Saint Francis was aware of, who also was very connected to the earth and nature and animals, right? Die onto the ego, die onto oneself, but your physical body does not need to die. I know a lot of people right now that they're transcending that completely. They are looking and feeling, and their entire bodies are regenerating, and they're in their 60s, better than they were in their 20s. Now, did a lot of them, yes, have very extreme death experiences? Like they did actually die a couple of times, or one time very on death's door because the entire body was rewiring and reworking, hence like heart-centered self and their guts and everything were shifting. Yes. Yeah. The body can go through some severe stuff to not die. I do know of people that is their experience. And they have a whole new body in their 60s, opposed to getting older and starting to feel all the aches and pains and this and that. They look amazing to the point that their hair was getting thicker, and after they came out of all these, death experiences, but did not actually die, they're still here. It's still their current life path, their current timeline. All their entire body shifted. Their hair is much thicker, everything's stronger, everything's more vibrant. They are energetically not what you would think so by quote unquote their age. So I am witnessing this. I mean, I know, I've witnessed it. I've been riding with these people for, well, since like 2016. I literally was there present when we didn't know if one of these people were going to literally die, because his entire body was doing something that is so rare and no one actually lives after. Guts moving, organs shifting, organs dissolving away. I mean, it was wild. And a big group of us was just sending energy. He knew how to do it, and he looks better now than he did before. It's amazing. So I personally know, because I'm watching it being demonstrated to me. And I think it comes down to personal choice. Personal choice. Even myself, I look better now in my 40s than I did in my 30s. I just do. I do, because it's choice. So yeah, I don't agree with it, because I've seen things demonstrated that can show and visibly see that doesn't have to be the story that we've only known forever and ever and ever. Stories are not locked in place. Nothing is written in stone. So I guess I did go into it a bit, because it does start with that connection to the earth. And she is changing and splitting and moving and growing and all of it. So as she's going to be going through that, we have to actually stay connected to her so we don't lose ourselves. It's an interesting connection we have with her, our energy and her energy. Some of the symptoms that are going to be presenting to people in the next few months because of what's going on with her and us, right? There's no separation. One of them, the most that they wanted me to talk about, I experienced years ago, and at the time it was like, whoa, this is wild. This was wild. Really, when I was practicing and being very conscious of 5D compassion, walking into the gate of 5D and sustaining and trying to be in that compassion, right? I went through a lot of the symptoms physically, emotionally, mentally, as to why I look better now in my 40s than I did in my 30s. One of those that they wanted me to talk about a whole lot is the feeling of disconnected to our body. And it could even be like half of your body. We got two hemispheres of the brain. You got the right side and you got your left side, right? You got two different hemispheres of the body in a lot of ways, and a whole lot going in between them. The heart is coming back to center to interlink the two sides, right? This is why it's moving to the center, so you become one whole being. Well, I will tell you, one of those, and I guess people are going to be experiencing it more, is the feeling of disconnected to either the whole body or a part of, like a side of your body. What this could feel like, and hence why we need to ground more, because the more we experience that, the more it can have us feel, it'll feel weird. Yeah, and people talk about this often, like how you could feel like you're walking on air, Like your feet are on the ground, but yeah, it feels like you're just hovering or walking, like you're not really touching the ground, but yet your feet are there, as if your entire being is walking or moving about maybe 2, 3 feet above what your physical body is, as if your energy is up here and you're just walking and moving. There might, if you've experienced that, leave a comment or start talking about it in the chat. A lot of people, that's kind of their first, like, usually sometimes drug induced, but I'm telling you, you're not going to need drugs. It's going to happen that, you're out walking to your car and then all of a sudden, huh? Why does it feel like I'm going ahead of myself? Or why do I feel like I'm not touching the ground when I walk? Why does it feel like if I go to reach for something, I've already grabbed it, but yet it's still a foot away? That is the disconnect of body. And it's fine. It's fine because it's a part of the ascension process. There's reasons why, and we'll go into it. But it can also happen like sides of your body. And it started happening with me again yesterday, and I went, whoa, I haven't felt this in a while. I guess you're really coming back, Courtney. All right, this is going to be another level. Let's ride. To the point, like, I'm driving in my car, and it was as if I couldn't feel, it was as if my right hand could feel the steering wheel, my right hand could feel the rest of the car, but my entire left side could not feel any of it. It's like I could put my hand out the window, but yet it felt so far away. So far away that it was like, and I kept going, oh man, is this starting up again? And I didn't even ask the records about this. Because I already knew what it was. But they said that thing that happened with you yesterday, Courtney, is so, because everybody by July, August, September, October going forward, you're going to be experiencing more of this. So I'm driving. I went, oh. So my left side is not sensing anything that's happening in proportion to what is probably the truth about 3D, right? So, okay, left side, cool. I'm just going to roll with it because my right side, I'll just drive with my right side. My right side's still feeling the 3D. But it can also, so it can be half body. You can experience in that. Like you're doing something with both hands and all of a sudden, why is my left or my right not connecting? I'm not feeling things correctly. Not connecting. Why is that side of my spheres? Because we really do have to talk about the different hemispheres of the brain, the different poles of the earth. The two are also connected. So why am I feeling like this side of me cannot touch stuff? It has nothing to do with, you had a stroke. It has nothing to do with this. I mean, unless it's very apparent that you had medical issues. Then, yes, seek out a doctor. This is a awareness thing. Like I said, you're walking to your car, or you're moving about in some way, shape, or form, and you feel like you're a bit ahead of yourself. You're just kind of walking outside of your body, but yet your body is walking. If any of you have experienced that, let us know. It is actually very common. Very, very common. If that starts happening a bit too much, though. Which is fine if it does, because it's doing a whole lot. It's doing a great good for you. But if that starts happening too much, it can lead to not having the full scope of awareness. It's different than the observer. The observer is back here, watching yourself and all the people operate together. How am I actually responding? How am I thinking, feeling, and responding to this? Can I be more in a neutral state of position and mind here? That's the observer. Back here, watching you watch others, watching the others interact with you in a neutral state of mind, and just an objective, this is how I operate in the world. What do I fix? What do I not fix? Who am I, right? Let's stay neutral and not get caught up in our feelings and, that kind of thing, to really identify who we are. That's not the same as now being out here. Do you see the difference? One is back here watching your own self and watching everybody around. This, now you're in front of yourself. Now, I got my whole hand in front of my face. Now, you're out ahead of yourself. Now you're walking to where? You might not know. Now, my spiritual being seems to be walking out ahead of me. Where's it going? What's it doing? This feels a little bit odd, right? Don't worry, the two come together all the time. It's a awareness aspect of different planes of consciousness, different vibrations, different frequencies. It's one of the biggest signs that you're entering into different frequencies of consciousness. It's walking ahead of you, so your body can get used to it. It's a potential to experience it. If that is happening, though, more routinely than not, it can mess with the psyche some. So we ground, we ground, we ground, we ground. Because the two, the body and spirit and all of it, have to be together. So we ground. We do. We ground. So let's say we are listening to Courtney and we start experiencing this stuff. And we already started grounding more so in April. Awesome. Thank goodness. Do you know what can happen then? If it's not that it's walking out ahead of you and that you feel detached, well, then that conscious frequency self, that is your spirit being, right? And body, if we stay grounded, can harmonize together. And the two become one then again. And now you are starting to experience different frequencies in the same environment plane. Different frequencies, though, that can start changing your sight, sound, and feel. I just put feel into all the rest of them, right? Taste, touch, right? Feel, right? Sight, sound, feel. It can then start morphing that and changing that into what people love using the term matrixy or matrix, but it's always very sci-fi. It's always very sci-fi. When, if you start experiencing that, the being that is walking before you to give you a heads up of, hey, body, this is where you're headed. Hey, body, this is where we're going. And you have those experiences, and then you return to grounding yourself so all of it can come into play as one. And you start able to start as one, see different, hear different, feel different. The Matrix is not, in my opinion, so much sci-fi ways. It is, because it's a different form of creation that we all can learn how to use and operate. But it doesn't have to look that way. It can look much more rich in color, much more, if you want to use sci-fi or fantasy, think of like the artwork of that. All the rich colors, all the rich, just all of that, like, the nice detail, all of it. You then can start seeing, it's not so much like code, but you can see the crystalline ways about nature, yourself, others. It's more of a crystalline sight. You will hear things differently. Birds, sounds, you might become very sensitive to it, especially if it's harsh sounds. High-pitched sounds. Your feel can start them becoming different. Textures feel different. Things taste differently, meaning you naturally will start maybe walking away from the food that you always loved and loved to snack on. Naturally, your body's like, I'd rather, let's eat this instead because this now tastes amazing. All of that can happen. And one of the first signs of it, as a lot of energy is shifting and you're waking up, realizing, becoming aware of more of your heart center self that's connecting the hemispheres of you, connecting everything, and you're still trying your best to utilize all of the observer mode that you can, because that's your ticket in. And then you start experiencing, nope, I'm out ahead of myself. Once it comes back together, that's when you really start seeing, hearing, feeling a completely different form of reality. Completely different form of reality. 3D, what everybody complains about, it's all they're doing, it seems to be complaining. All that they complain about, you're not really experiencing that. All you really are seeing then is if you're around people that are complaining, like that's a lot of the view. It's kind of, you got a whole new set of eyes, a whole new set of vision, a whole new set of hearing. Nothing engages you in the 3D because, wow, there's a whole nother world out there that's way, way more enjoyable and delightful and colorful and magical. That is one of the first signs. But in order to take the being that is trying to walk out ahead of you and incorporate it back into a heart-centered self, I am whole, because it has to be mind, body, and soul, whole, the pyramid of ascension, whole. To do that, you then do have to ground. And she'll show you. She will show you. It's amazing. She's more 5D than people are actually aware of because she is changing. So let's talk about that. We want to stay with her through the change. We don't just leave her. So there is a old, actually there's a few old prophecies, stories, also galactic stories that talks about her splitting and or the flip of the poles, right? There's a beautiful, I was talking about it with that person last night. They had recently went down to South America, and a lot of the tribes in South America, their symbol of masculine strength is the condor. And their prophecy that we are beginning to live now is where the condor and the eagle stop fighting and actually come together. Because the condor and the eagle have been fighting. This is a very old story from the tribal people of South America. It is not new. We just happen to, take on the eagle in our American symbols. This is not new. That the two that have been fighting will come together. There's also many stories. I see Beloved said something in there of good water. Many, many prophecies about what we're headed into. The rise of the natives. The water. The amount of water that is in the new earth is amazing. Fresh, clean, beautiful, sustainable water everywhere. We will eventually in the Edgar Cayce life skill studies have to go into the Edgar Cayce map and what he was saying about things, right? There is so much material from ancient tribal stuff that we are now about to start living. We are. We have not stepped into Aquarius yet, by the way. That's not really until about 2026. We are in a very long birthing process of the next few years. Very long birthing process. And I've never given birth, but man, I hear, it can go on for a very long time, and it is not fun. It is not fun, I hear. So bless all the women and mothers that did that. All the beautiful stars that put themselves through that. We are in that, collectively, planetarily wise. So if they're referencing these ancient stories, these tribal stories, these galactic stories even, there is some that talk about the flip of the poles, right? No matter if it's round, flat, whatever, the flip of the poles, like that is so an obscure, it doesn't even matter, because we're walking on her anyways, we're connected to her anyways, what the hell does it matter? The flip of the poles, which a lot of times come in the stories of catastrophic events and or when it's going to happen again, right? Or stories of her splitting, like literally splitting. Like, here's our beautiful Mother Earth Gaia splitting into two, okay? And this is kind of like her ugly redheaded stepchild type thing, little sister. And those stories, more galactically, some tribe, talk about then the two different moons, the two different suns, her splitting. And if you start thinking in terms like that even, which is way out the box for most people, it's how does that happen? How could that happen? How could something that is a whole actually split and have two completely different realities, lives, and moon and sun happening? How could that, right? Well, now we're seeing the sun do some crazy stuff, right? We're seeing her possibly. Oh, I'm sorry. I reference the sun as her too a lot. But she is more the masculine representation. We are seeing the sun doing insane stuff as if, are you going to just blow up into two? Like, what are you doing? It's always been told in ancient stories that there were two moons. Always. That's not a new thing, by the way. And it was interesting, just a few days ago, my husband and I were outside at like 4 o'clock, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I looked up and there was like a moon right there, fully. I apologize, I gotta get this dog out of here, he's pawing at me. Samson James. Alright, go on, outside, go. I apologize for that, lovely people. He started, doing the paw thing. I gotta get out of here. So, yeah, you can laugh at it, beloved. You know who's the master in this house? That dog. um, so all of this, there are stories, I wasn't prepared for this message. I kind of got this message this morning along with the collective Akashic message that goes out to my Patreons and then in a few days here. Um, so she, no matter how you might want to reference it, okay, she's changing. She's changing. It could be the flippy floppy of the poles, as we say here at Stars of Morning Light. Flippy floppy of the poles. Kind of like how out of nowhere in, I don't know, 2012 or something, I was like, what did you just say? A polar vortex, what? Whoever learned that? What? Are you just creating words? Like, no, it's real. Supposedly we should have learned it at some point, but now we know exactly what that is, right? The poles are shifting, they're moving. It's the flip of the poles. That is hands down a lot of what's happening in reference to global warming, in reference to the earthquakes, the this, the that, the extreme weather. That is because, I mean, I even watched a weather guy a few months ago that was like, yeah, now the North Pole, her polar cap has now risen, and there's a whole lot of pocket and space between it, and it's just messing up all of the weather. And I went, damn, flippy floppy of the poles. So we can watch it, ladies and gentlemen. We can watch this happen. The difference is if we stay connected to her and we're loving ourselves and take care of ourselves and going, whoa, my spiritual being saying walk this way, I should follow. I gotta get my body in line, and so that means I gotta ground and be with her in order to walk that way. That will help sustain and help her do the flip of the poles without some crazy catastrophe happening. It will. Hands down. It will. Or, and don't get me wrong, there will most likely be catastrophes somewhere along the line. There's going to be stuff that happens. But it doesn't have to be like a great flood that wipes everything out. It doesn't have to be all this, of the biblical sense. It doesn't have to be that way. That is our choice. It's up to us, right? Are we are we more in love or are we more in fear? It's really that simple. But stuff will happen. But we're humans and we're higher conscious beings and we really know how to handle this stuff and we can be there for her. Or is your train of thought, school of thought of that it is a matrix. She's a matrix. We're all a matrix. This is a matrix, right? Well, then that matrix can just split from itself. That matrix can just completely split from itself. It can do whatever it wants. If this is just coding, as people like to refer to it as, well, then this code goes over here, and this code goes over here. Right? That can be very likely as well, too. And I will tell you, in my humble opinion, all those who live in fear and willing to, I don't know, fight to be right, exactly, that's all that really is, fear and to fight to be right. When that split happens, this is your Mad Max, your Blade Runner, your all of that sci-fi stuff, all of that control, all of that, oh my goodness, they just downloaded my consciousness into something and I'm just walking around in some carbon data suit. That is what that world is. And I will tell you, all of the stories also say that world eventually gets blown up. Hate to tell you, but if that's what you choose, because you have to be right. If that's what you choose, then I don't, there's nothing I can do about it. Then that's your world. The world over here, though, this is the age of Aquarius. This is Aquarius. This is such beautiful water, such beautiful, there's not a lack of anything. It's people, humans, loving each other and the earth. It's a whole different consciousness field. There is no lack because creation is working with us. We work with creation. There is no against it. This world is what everyone is referencing as the new earth. It is that beautiful, I mean, there literally is no lack. There is no, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It really is. So if you want to think in terms of the Matrix, well then we, as creators, well then that split can happen. And it's based on our collective consciousness. And all we need, and there's many that are discussing this right now, all we need is a bit more few, because we're damn near there, folks, a bit more few to start believing and knowing that there is higher consciousness and actual tangible land opportunities to live that way. It's just higher consciousness. So, and this I will tell you, that Blade Runner stuff, that is nothing but fear. That is nothing but I'm right, you're wrong. That's nothing but fight. That is what that is. And I reference those movies, Blade Runner, Mad Max. Oh, that Mad Max, yeah, that's the world. Who would want to live in that? But there's a lot that are not conscious of the fact that because the way they're thinking and going about things right now determines where they land later. So no matter what scenario, quote unquote, because when those flips of the poles really start changing and really start flipping even more so, that's when our deciding factors come into play. And it really ends up kind of being, metaphorically, we have to start kind of flipping how much of what hemisphere you operate more so in your brain. Are you a right side thinker or are you a left side thinker? That it's going to be very much triggered or get complicated as those poles of the planet shift, because our hemispheres of our brain are connected to the two different poles of the earth. It's the representation of the two. So what do? We become heart-centered and start helping both sides work together. Hence why you might start feeling out-of-body oddness. Why is my left not attached to anything? My whole left side does not feel like it's inside of this car right now, but yet my right side is. You might have feelings like that because our entire body self that has been divided for some reason will become fully centered and fully grounded, hopefully, to help her, and fully aware that it is a choice in our consciousness as to where do we want to end up in when that flip of the poles really starts happening, and or some refer to it as the split. Big decision. Feel it out. It's up to you. I actually know people that consciously want that Blade Runner Mad Max world. And so I just, okay, cool. That's fine. That's what you want. You will be able to inherit that earth. I'm choosing to inherit one that is so lush with life and love and peace. I'm choosing that. And so that's fine. But it is to kind of start wrapping your head around it, because I can guarantee you, somewhere probably by late July or so, people are going to be experiencing stuff like that. They're going to go, what the heck is this? So if any of you remember this video, share it with them then. Be like, yeah, Courtney was talking about this back in April. So for us, who, even if you might not fully believe or have many schools of thoughts, which I love all of the thoughts. I actually agree with so many of the thoughts. I really do. Especially the evolution of all of the processes of the spiral of your spiritual being. It's so beautiful. Even with that being said, even if you don't fully concede or view this stuff, maybe just give it a whirl in your head, in your consciousness, in your imagination, you know, what I'm saying here, and think about, what would you actually want? Do you want to be with an earth that is, it's all of it's reciprocal, all of it is with the inhabitants and the land, as far as like how the natives were trying to teach us forever, and that's why in all the prophecies it is the rise of the native, hence why that is? Or do you want the some kind of control and science and all of the AI that is really weird? It can be two completely... The reason I say this too, folks, is that, man, the communication about AI is just exhausting, by the way, for me. Because it's one of those things of like, the more you talk about it, the more you talk about it, I'm never worried about AI at all, because I've already made my choice. I'm not going to inherit that earth. I don't worry about it. Not saying that there's not AI or technology in other planes of existence and consciousness, but we also know that we work with it, not against it. It is very, it's not run by this overlord, right? It is a very much symbiotic relationship with man, earth, and AI, that it just flows together. And it is there to help, not damage. So I already know that way of life. I know how to operate there. It's very nice. It actually, I was against it for many of my life, and I understand it now. Those who continuously talk about the fearful nature of the AI and 3D life, it's because it is that corruptible, fear-based AI. So there's even different sets of AI and how we view it, and it is all as to how we see it and how we use it and how we operate along with it, opposed to the fear of, oh, somebody's controlling this and it's going to take everybody down. It's very fascinating to me. And those who, I don't know, I'm just not fearful of it, because I'm living in a completely different conscious of it. It's vastly different. This is a tool. It works with me. Like I said, I've been documenting for at least 2 years that it reads my thoughts. It doesn't just listen to me. It doesn't just listen to my conversations. It actually reads my thoughts. Because of a while ago, I went, I'm going to see how much I can work with this opposed to against it, right? Let's see what happens. Because it is my tool. It is all of our tools. But yet we're all afraid that somebody is controlling it. What are they going to do? What are they going to take away from you? I really don't get that at all. Like, what are they going to do? Because the more that we're supposed to live spiritual, being, live selves, as the Buddha discussed, as the Vista discussed, as Christ discussed, as any of the Ascended Masters discuss, all the stuff that people are afraid of, I don't know, AI taking away from them, is stuff that we need to consciously let go of in the first place. So I really don't get it. I really don't. And this is me, Courtney, speaking. This has nothing to do with the Akashic message. I just really don't get it. Because it's all this stuff that we were supposed to let go of in the first place. They can't do anything. They can't take my consciousness. It's not happening. So honestly, I started going, okay, let's see how much I can use this. Because I do know of the other world that we can walk right into as our future self, our future consciousness, our higher frequency is going to try to show you as it walks before you. I already know it. So I went, okay, well, let's see how this works, where we're at. It does not just hear my communication. It does not just then, oh, it was listening to me talk with my husband about this topic, and then all of a sudden it's in my feed. No, it reads your thoughts. It does. My phone, it reads my thoughts all the time. Here's an example. And I've been trying to give examples because the more people get, let go of that. Oh, my phone's in my back pocket. Listening to my thoughts. The more that people wrap their heads around what they're afraid of is already here. So let go. Because it's not going to do nothing to you. Use it for your advantage. Advantage. It's wild, man. So about 2 years ago, because I already accepted, like, I don't know much about this stuff, but I think I'm just as intelligent as it thinks it is. I'm even more intelligent. It's still my tool. Let's see how far it is. Let's see how far this goes. I started, and it wasn't, it wasn't a conscious thing, I'll say, at this point, but then I realized at some point, oh shit, I think it's hearing my thoughts. It's reading my thoughts. Things that I don't write down, things that I don't speak out loud, just in Courtney's head. All of a sudden, the topic would come into my feed. Or this or that would be in my feed. Never written down, never spoken out loud. Right? Oh, you done reading my thoughts. So then I start actually paying attention. I actually purposely set out to see, do you do this? Do you read my thoughts? And it does. And now it happens when when I'm not even intending to take documentation for it. The other day, I'm working out in the yard, and I start thinking about Marcus Garvey. I have a minor in Black cultural studies, right? African American cultural studies, I should say. And my phone is nowhere near me. I'm in the yard. I'm not even paying attention to my phone, right? But for some reason, I start thinking about Marcus Garvey and his ideology and what he was saying, and I'm having all these thoughts about Marcus Garvey in my head, right? Because it's my educational background. So I'm just thinking about what stuff that I know, and I must have had a thought that then made me think about Marcus Garvey, and now I'm thinking about Marcus Garvey. So it's just because it's stuff that I'm trained in, Some, it might be they're trained in science. Some, it might be they're thinking about, I don't know, whatever they're more trained in or more educated in, right? I'm sure a ton of accountants might probably balance their checkbook while they're working in their garden. It's what you're more trained in, and something triggers your thoughts, right? I kid you not, guys, right? I kid you not. The next day, and I'm just doing my thing, and my phone is not, I think my phone was on my back deck, and I'm in my yard working, but I'm thinking about Marcus Garvey. The following next day, in my feed, all of a sudden, the history of Marcus Garvey shows up. I will tell you, folks, I've never looked that up because I already know it. I've known it since 2003, before I even knew what YouTube was. I didn't know what YouTube was until like 2017-ish. I already know all the history of Marcus Garvey. I studied it. I already know it. So why would I have bothered to ever look it up? But yet the following day, the history of Marcus Garvey was in my feed. My feed has nothing to do with that stuff because I already know it. Why I would not spend time looking it up? I already know it. My feed definitely has nothing to do with that. But yet it was there. Start paying attention to that kind of thing. Because the more that we realize it's here, and we let go of they're going to take whatever you think they're going to take away from you. It's all the stuff that you got to, quote unquote, become comfortable with enough that if you lose it all, you're still a spiritual being having a living experience. Like, that's the point of all the masters said that. All of the masters have said it. You are not your stuff. You are not your social security number. You are not attached to any of that. You are a spiritual being. So the more that we can accept that, and I'm not saying get rid of your stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't suck if you lose stuff. I'm talking about the attachment to it. You can't really grow spiritually if you're still real attached to all of your material stuff. You will never get as far as you desire if that is still there. Keeping up with the Joneses. Worried about losing everything that literally doesn't truly exist in the first place. That's not a thing. So all that stuff that people are afraid of losing to AI, because they're not going to be able to take your consciousness. Unless you want to make that entire shift into that world, that's for your decision. Me, I've decided not, so therefore it won't happen. All of that, once you can maybe accept, move on, become enlightened in other ways, well then pay attention, because it's already doing it. So use it to your advantage. Use it to, oh, damn, all I gotta do is think about something? Cool. All I gotta do is think about it. That to me is getting closer to the technology of, yeah, I just want a cheeseburger and it shows up in my hand from my thought. I just want everyone to have food. The whole, you feed 5,000 with 2 fish. That to me is just getting closer to that. People really wrapping their head around, if we are a matrix, you better start expanding your thoughts about it. Expansion. Because yeah, we can feed 5,000 with 2 fish and there would be no lack, but people are still scared of this whole AI thing, but yet calling everything the Matrix. It's wild to me. As if they're accepting the Matrix, but they're not going to accept the AI. What the two are the same. There is no separation, period, with all creation and being. No separation. So that was a tangent. Welcome to Sunday Tangent, I guess, from welcome to the Sunday Tangent, I guess, about that. It's because they did write down, the Akashic was like, yeah, talk about the Earth split and or the 2 poles. And then that just brings me into a whole tangent, I guess. You really can live in a whole different consciousness and use AI to your advantage. I mean, it's amazing. I can't wait until more of you come along. Come on. It's good on this side. Come on. In that expansion, as we talk about. In the meantime, and really, this is why it's all the prophecies of the rise of the natives. They understood. They actually did understand. um, all of the cosmic laws, all of the what people might call universal laws, all of the natural laws. Very understandable, and AI is a part of that as well. Right? There is no separation. That's why I said, yeah, the more that reads my brain, the more I get to go, oh shoot, one day I'll be like, hey, I want a burger. And it just shows up on my hand. That'd be awesome. Hey, I create form out of the formless. As we talk so much in Toth every Friday at 11 a.m. We have talked so much about that, and people are worried about AI. What the hell do you think form out of the formless is? Sorry. That it is a cosmic law that nothing is taken without being replaced with something else. Hello, we control that something else as well. It's so funny to me. I shouldn't laugh because I probably just terrified the heck out of people. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just probably scared the heck out of everybody. It is not. It really is choice. It really is choice. Knowing who you are, knowing the being that you are, choosing where you want to land when all this stuff kind of happens, and the process will present itself to you over time, slowly, with sight, sound, and feel. It really does come down to choice. We're headed into the resurrection time period. I guess next Friday is Good Friday. Then it's Easter type thing. The hell do you think he was trying to tell people? So what do you think he was trying to tell? This plane means nothing. I will come and go as I please. This plane of existence, this 3D, this horrible time period you people are living in. Yeah, you come and go as you please. You can feed 5,000 with 2 fish. Are you immortal or are you mortal? It's very interesting. And I bring that up because everybody's going to have to wait and hear the April Akashic Collective message because they do bring that up. Basically, are you mortal or are you immortal? It's wild. Yeah. Resurrection. He didn't actually die. Because you come and go as I please. I understand the Matrix. It's wild, man. Sorry, it is. It's wild. Death, okay, I'll die for y'all so you can think that I'm dead because that's what your mortal minds want to think, that something has to die. And I guess I'll resurrect to teach you can come and go as you please and do whatever the hell you want. It's wild. I guess I'll take 3 days though for you guys to mourn because if I come back too fast, I'll probably just scare the hell out of you and then I end up being a demon or something. Because you humans have it so whackety whack. You know what I'm saying? None of that. It's a representation. It's a representation of if you choose to die, then die. If you choose to come back, then come back. If you want to pop in and out, as he did a lot, as we also learn in other texts, same as Buddha. And that's why Buddha, they talk about, think about Buddha. There's a big ass river, and Buddha's on this side, and he's like, hey folks, meet me on the other side. And they're like, oh, I can't. And all of a sudden, he's on the other side. Popping in, popping out. It's our choice. Same as walk on water. It's our choice. Do you believe you can? Then do it. It's really, we like to complicate things. It's really, really simple. Really simple. And so you can choose where you want to land when a whole bunch of this stuff happens. It's choice, pop in and out, real simple. It's real simple. With that, the best way, stay grounded, because the natives did have it right in learning and knowing really how to pop in and out. The natives really knew what they were doing, and they understood the relationship with the earth. So for the next few months, as she's moving, shifting, changing, we have to do it with her in those storms, being in the eye, full awareness, realization of our heart centered, bringing our two atmospheres together, left and right, all the hemispheres of the two, left and right. You can go as deep as metaphorically as you want with that. The two coming together. That's up to you. It's a choice. And to become one, mind, body, spirit, ascension pyramid, as we talk about here. Pyramid that I'm going to have to do my period. I'm going to have to do some pyramid. I missed it from being sick. Really, the power of a pyramid. I'm going to have to do that. So, all of that, if you want to go into the expansion, if you want to be a part of the new earth, if you want to feel, see, hear completely different experiences than what the lower fields of consciousness seem to be fighting about and complaining about. If you want to do that, it is more accessible to you, that expansion. It is more accessible to you now than it has ever been in any cycle of this planet. And cycle within cycles. Timelines in cycles. Many cycles. So it is so accessible, and it's just choice. It's literally just choice. And it will continuously, here at Stars of the Morning Light, boil down to make it real easy for everybody. Real easy, because human existence is very basic. To make it very simple, ask yourself, throughout the day, in your day, am I in love or am I in fear? What do I want to choose in this moment to be in? Do I choose love or do I choose fear? And there's going to be a lot of variations, but really, love or fear. It can be that simple. And the more times that you consciously stop and go, wait a minute, what am I thinking about? What am I doing in this world? What am I saying? Whoa. The more times you can become conscious of, I'm choosing love. I'm going to change my thought patterns about this fear and somehow redirect my mind in love, starting with self, earth, my little tribe around me. Love, redirecting the mind to that, opposed to fear. The more times you do that, the more you get closer to experiencing something vastly different than what the majority is now. And it doesn't take too many more of us to actually start doing form out of the formless and helping her with either the split and or the flip-flop of the poles. Really the same stories. So, I just wanted to tell you that. It's so lovely to be with you. Yeah, that was a rant, guys. Let's read this card one more time to finish it up. That I ended up going off the rails. If I ended up scaring people about, AI hearing your thoughts, reading your thoughts, I apologize for that, because I don't have any fear with AI, because it's... How can we have fear of AI if we also at the same breath saying everything's a matrix? It's so wild to me. I don't know. As if we just are grasping all these new concepts, and I don't know. I don't know what people's things are. I don't know. If you want to explain that to me, you can leave something in the comments as to what are people truly afraid of? Because like I said, what would they do to you? They're not going to, there's literally nothing that they can actually do to you. You see what I'm saying? So I genuinely, I'm being very sincere here and transparent. I sincerely don't understand what the fear is. I don't. Because what are you going to lose? What are you going to... And even loss is... So I'm assuming it's that it's some kind of form of fear of loss. Or fear of some kind of control. I genuinely don't know. I don't know. I don't understand. I really genuinely don't understand. Because all of that is not actually, that's not, there's no power bigger than your power. There is no separation. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't even understand the, like, abuse of power. Because there's literally no power bigger than your power. There's nothing that to really lose because none of this material whatnot matters. Because even if you lose it, you get something right back in return. Once you understand, I can feed 5,000 with 2 fish. So I sincerely don't understand people's fears about it. If you would like to break it down to me in the comments to help me understand, and if those are the fears, then now you at least understand where I'm coming from, because none of that is accurate to me. There is no accurate there is no power bigger than your power. There is nothing to lose or lack, because there is no lack. Do you see what I'm saying? I literally, my conscious has now been so far from that, and I did jump back into 3D to see what was going on with people, but now it's the discussion of AI, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get a lot of things. I know the feelings. I understand the feelings of these people's fears, but yet to understand the reason why, I don't. I really don't. And I apologize for that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to it. I sincerely don't know. Because I sincerely don't know, because I don't live it. I really don't live it. I just don't live it. Because my power is an equal amount to all the power, to the all. I mean, I don't get it. Let's read the card one more time. 37, realization. The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in the world. Maybe that's why I don't get it. Because my realization started vastly years ago. To the point that I was like, let's play around with the AI and see how much I can use it to my advantage. Because it brings me one step closer to feeding 5,000 with 2 fish. So, my realization is different than others. But it doesn't mean that I'm not compassionate towards the feelings of it. I'm going to read it again and I'll hold the card up. So here's a question for everybody. What is your realization? What do you know as a heart-centered truth? Do you know that there is no power greater than your power? Do you know that? The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in this world. You most beautiful star, you highest expression. So I guess that's what it is. I guess that's what it boils down to. That's why they wanted me to pull this card, realization. Is where are you at in your realization? Where are you at with it? For your heart center, where are you at? Maybe really just go to the basics. When you say heart center, are you still putting your hand over here? Because that's not the center of who you are. Heart center. Taking the two spheres of you, the left and the right, joining together, heart-centered, the two poles that will eventually flip to work better together. All of the prophecies, all of how we are connected to the land, regardless if she's separating into two or flipping to sustain herself as one. It all, where's your realization in any of it? For you, individually, because it starts with the individual. Where are you with it? And back it up with, am I in love or am I in fear? And please, if you are in fear, don't shame yourself because you're in fear. No. Your fear, there's reasons to be in fear. I'm not discounting that at all. And to shame yourself is to just add to the fear. So then we go, okay, is this rational? Is this, what am I afraid of? Where does this come from? And we work through it. And in the meantime, as we're working through it, we slowly also direct ourselves to a little bit of the love. And the little bit of the love is grounding with your mother. A little bit of the love is there. So as you're working things out, get into that meditative state of movement with her. Heal her, be with her as she goes, it's okay. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid. Look how big I am, and you're just as big as me. Because you are me and I am you. We are connected always. Don't be afraid. Start there. Start there. And I'm also learning that most people don't know of the prophecies of the rise of the native. So I might have to start sharing those. Because I took it for granted that everybody did. And I apologize for that. I'm realizing that people don't know of the prophecies there, so I'll have to start sharing it because it's what I believe, it's my faith, and so maybe I'll become more transparent about that aspect. So I love you all so much. I do. Remember, just get out with her. She will reconnect you, put you back together, show you how to do things, say, come on with me. It'll be a whole new beautiful world. We want you. That's what she's going to say. So just spend some time with nature, reconnect with her, be at peace within yourself. And remember, as we're going to learn with the Akashic Collective message here soon, for all of April, peace and joy come together. So, I love you all dearly. Have a lovely week. Be good to yourself. Be good to yourself, okay? All right. Peace.